When have you seen a spoiled brat getting owned? Viewers Edition. Story 1. All the ones on spoiled college kids makes me remember my freshman year college roommate. She was a massive bee. She was the type that blew through her allowance so fast, which was like $1,000 a week. For reference, I got like $250 every 2 weeks. And when mom or dad wouldn't give her any more, she would whine and complain to grandma or auntie until they gave her an extra $1,000. She also had multiple boyfriends and would stay up late loudly talking to them on video calls, and if they ignored her for a single second, she would whine and cry that they didn't love her. And she always told each boy they were her one and only, while I'm just zipping up my bed tent and trying to get some sleep. Also, I got injured pretty early in the semester, got rear-ended at a red light at 40 miles per hour, leaving my first and only marching band performance at a football game. And while I didn't break anything, I had major muscle strains, which looking back were also probably some EDS subluxations as well, down my whole back to the point where I could barely leave my bed. I missed so many classes, I pretty much flunked the semester. The muscle strains made it near impossible to sing for choir, and I had to drop marching band completely because my director made me keep coming to games, even though all I could do was just sit holding my trombone. Of course, I couldn't hold it up to play it. During all of that, she would always claim my side of the room was trashed when there were a few things scattered on the floor, and she would be at me in person and over text that I was lazy and it wasn't that hard to clean. Once I got a new car, she pretty much used me as a free taxi service, and me being a people pleaser just did it. She did eventually get humbled by her own hit of the real world, but even I thought it was a horrible way of it happening. One day she asked me if one of her arms looked more swollen than the other, and it did. She kept saying she thought she just pulled a muscle at the gym, but I kept telling her it felt warmer and she should probably go to the ER. She said she couldn't because her insurance only covered facilities in California. We were in Nevada. So she booked a last-minute flight home, and I dropped her off at the airport, honestly worried about her. I didn't like her, but I could tell this seemed serious. She was gone a few weeks, and I think finally came back after Thanksgiving break. Turns out she had some sort of defect around her collarbone that pressed on some blood vessels and gave her a axillosubclavian vein thrombosis. Yes, I had to look that up. Turns out she was gone for so long because she pretty much needed surgery as soon as she got home, which the doctors were not happy that she had to fly to get home. And some small things didn't go right, so she needed 2 following surgeries as well. She also had to go on a ton of blood thinners. When she got back to school, she had like 2 types of pills and some sort of shot she had to do daily to get her blood thin enough to not cause another clot. I don't remember much after this whole ordeal because, like I said, it humbled her a lot, and while we still didn't get along very well, she was at least a lot more tolerable. I was still very glad when the end of the school year came and I went home for the summer. Got to go back to school in the next year and be part of the first year there was an LGBTQ+ special interest floor. Honestly, the best dorm experience ever. I mean, honestly, viewer, I'm just genuinely more interested in your experience. Like, I mean, yeah, this person got a little bit humbled, and I'm glad that they turned out to be okay, and, you know, hopefully they've grown into just a better and better person, but I mostly was stuck on feeling bad for you getting in an accident like that, and, like, when you mess up your back, that changes your life for a period. That is really rough to kind of get through. So you have my sympathies, but also, that sounds really cool being on that, you know, first year of an LGBTQ+ special interest floor. That's awesome. And this is a story I'm genuinely interested in hearing more. So, hey. Story 2. Maybe I'm the odd one, but I was learning to cook at age 2, mopping the floor with a custom mop at 2, sweeping with a child-sized real broom at age 2, assisting with the laundry at age 2, cleaning a cat's litter box at age 2, doing dishes at age 2, all with supervision of both grandparents. My late grandmother taught me to sew and bake before I entered kindergarten. I made my own lunches for a while before the Catholic elementary school I had to attend started being that my grandmother needed to let me be a child and do childish things with friends. Friends? What are those? My entire neighborhood was either families that had kids on the verge of high school, families with toddlers, or families that were brand new. What the F was I supposed to play with? The neighborhood bully? Yeah, no thanks. Just before Canadian Thanksgiving 1988, my 3rd grade teacher decided she was going to have a Thanksgiving lunch and invited us to bring in some dishes to catch as we third graders with help had to make them. They were not to be store-bought, they were not to come from any bakery, they had to be made from scratch. I took in 50 scratch-made mini pies, 10 apple, 10 pumpkin, 10 rhubarb, using the canned pie filling, still good, 10 cherry, and 10 chocolate pies using the cupcake tin. I took in scratch-made biscuits, I took in scratch-made cake, and several scratch-made big pies of the same variety of the little pies. And what does the educational assistant say when she sees everything in airtight Tupperware containers? You do realize you were supposed to bake those yourselves and not purchase them from the store, right? So I said, yep, give me a minute and you'll see everything is scratch made. Carried all the boxes into the classroom and put them on the table, took the lids off the containers to reveal many scratch-made tarts, pies, cookies, biscuits, and turnovers. It was the last time she ever reminded me that things were supposed to be scratch-made. I can cook, I can clean, I can bake, I can sew. God knows how many times I sewed a gray, beat-up, formerly squeaky hedgehog for my late Shih Tzu until at last I had to tell him Spike went to the big garden in the sky. So he went and beat the ever-loving crap out of every single squeaky lamb chop he owned. God, I miss my baby boy, who was over-vaccinated in 2020 because he missed 2 years of shots due to me not having enough money to 1, pay tenant insurance, 2, pay cable and phone, 3, get groceries to last a month before running out. At the time, my mom kept promising she'd take me to the food bank for the first time, then I would back out if it was cloudy, windy, misty, too hot, too cold, or someone was coming over late. I got peed one day and went to the food bank myself and came across idiots when I went into the grocery store who thought that 1 person equals 6 boxes of KD meant that you could take 16 boxes. No, 1 person can take 6 boxes, not 16 boxes for 1 person. I've got to say, not at all in line with the prompt, but you sound like a really interesting person, and I love that. Making all that stuff from scratch at that age and everything, that's really awesome. I wish I'd gotten more into cooking when I was even younger, because I'm super into like cooking and baking now. I love doing that stuff. I make stuff from scratch every day if I can. But I didn't get into it until like my mid to late 20s kind of is when I actually started doing real stuff. So that's really awesome. And even if this wasn't related to the prompt, it was still just kind of a cool story about you. So neat. Story 3. I ended up dating the spoiled brat from my sister's high school like 5 years after they'd both graduated. In school, I guess she was your stereotypical princess whose parents got her whatever she wanted, but towards the end of her freshman year, she got knocked up by one of the stupidest people from the school. She had the kid sophomore year and her parents offered to raise the kid so she could focus on school, but she used the freedom to keep partying. By the time I hooked up with her, she'd had a second kid with another dude who'd gotten killed in a drunk driving incident and was living off an insurance settlement. First month or so was okay, but she slowly showed her true colors over the next several months, and she was pretty much a still self-absorbed wannabe princess who blamed all of her problems, like her weight gain, on everyone else except herself. Why'd I date her? Well, I was in the middle of a downward spiral that saw me lose almost everything and then wasn't making many smart decisions back then. Thankfully, I'm in a much better place now. Story 4. Ooh, for the makeup story, that reminds me of a night I had while working at Walmart. Past one aisle in electronics to see a woman had opened something like 7 boxes of chargers to find out which one connected properly to her phone and how long they were. I projected authority my bottom of the rung butt does not really possess, lol, and told her she'd have to pay for them all or repackage them all back up the way they go on the shelves. She did comply, but was mumbling about how was she supposed to know without trying them. Then she got a bit frustrated when one of them had a more complex folding design and she was having trouble with it. I was so happy to take it from her, meticulously close it, and mention how it was unfair for us employees to have to do it every day when customers leave them lying open or worse, have to write them off if we can't repackage them. And then I looked her dead in the eye and said, it's not a good argument to say you were trying them out. You don't take a bite out of the food and decide you don't want to buy it after all, right? Her look of shame had me feeling good that entire month. Story 5. My dad and I used to work at a high-end gaming equipment store, though it was mostly dealing with antique restorations. A lot of rich parents would buy dartboards, pool tables, foosball, air hockey, and shuffleboards and game accessories for their kids for good grades and good behavior, etc. One family went all out with it and probably spent close to $100,000 on all those items. We get invited to his opening night along with the rich neighbors and other rich friends. One of the kids thought he was a bad butt because he was beating siblings at 8 balls. Later, it's time to make room for the actual players. He gets in on it. First person lets the kid in. Before the start, he says, "We're going to do this game straight style, first person to a number of balls." Kid thinks it's easy because there are no stripes or solids. My dad gets up to him. He lets the kid break, then pulls out his cue with solid gray inlay and leather grip. Brat says to his dad, "Why didn't you get one of those for me?" holding a $100 stick. Kid is a good sport at first, gives congratulatory handshakes and says good game. Later, beaten again and again. After 10 straight losses, he says he's taking a break. On the way there, he blames his dad for embarrassing him. His dad tries to cool it down, saying, "See, I can't beat these guys either." Then says his dad rigged it so the dad, would lose and it's not going to make him feel better. He leaves and can hear him breaking stuff on the stairs and kicking holes in the wall. We pretend to hear nothing even though the party is mostly silent listening to him. He then throws his cue stick through the wall. Brat's younger sister says, "Forget about him, he's always like that when he loses." Exactly what we do. Then hear him getting yelled at in the back for embarrassing the family. Nothing will stop him. He smashed a windshield with the bottom of a cue stick. Dad just says, "Keep doing that, it's coming out of your money." He then hits his dad with the cue stick. Dad takes it and says he's done. Dad gets rid of the table and donates it to his school. It's a private upper-class smaller school, so everyone knows why the game room equipment is there. Oh, I gotta say, I had just my brain broke for a moment when this kid apparently smashed a windshield with this cue stick, and the dad's like, "Well, that's coming out of your money." It's like, that kid has money to pay for that kind of stuff. He's money for all this other stuff, and it all connected in my brain, but it took a moment where I'm like, what child has this? Why would a child have this? What led this child to be this way? And I don't know, but I hope he's doing better now. Story 6. Oh my god, I have some crap storms for you. This girl, I'm going to call her Avery, is the daughter of a well-known celebrity. So is her sister. I have something to do with this story as well. I hated her. We all knew she was spoiled and bratty. One day she went out of her way to distract us and even hurt us. She did some things like punch us in the face, spray random water bottles at us, and much more. So I was stirred up. I'm popular. I'm not a jerk about it, as I think that's immature, and I hate people who are mean because they have cash. I'm a soccer kid. We were playing soccer, minding our business, when this girl started poking us and kicking us and stuff like that. It got to the point where I was enraged. So mad I was red. My face, red. I took the ball, I waited until she was in angle, and I took a shot. The ball was pumped. I took a really hard shot. I did this as she was hurting my friend. The ball curved onto her just as she was laughing at him trying not to cry. The ball curved onto her left eye and made contact. I laughed so hard and ran so fast, you have zero idea. She was saying mean things as well. She got what she deserved. Amazing. Story 7. Honestly, I love the reaction that jerks give you when you put your foot down. I did work as an online tutor. This one kid, she was great. Her mom was a whole other story. She was quick to complain about how inconvenient our sessions were. For context, she makes the appointment and I'll just confirm it or work with her to find a more suitable time that fits my schedule. One time I noticed that she requested 2 sessions on the same day, one early in the morning and one later in the evening. I contacted her to confirm that's what she actually wanted. She tells me that obviously she only wanted to do it in the morning because why would she schedule 2 sessions in the same day? The day comes, I'm awake, I set up my laptop, and I'm ready to go. 5 minutes go by, 10 minutes go by, 15 minutes go by. Finally, the mom texted me saying she forgot her daughter had school, so let's have the session in the evening. The thing about the tutoring company I work for, if you give less than 24 hours notice before canceling a session, you get charged the session plus $5 fee. Normally, I understand that sometimes things happen. Computer trouble, your kid is throwing up. I had absolutely no problem charging this woman the cancellation fee. She texts me later telling me how things are tough at home and how she was just in the hospital because she hurt her leg. I told her I was sorry for her injured leg and assured her that I would be able to tutor her kid later in the evening. She was much more polite with me afterward, saying please and thank you and sorry. You know, it's not often that you, as a person who's maybe of lower status, makes less money, whatever, is in a position of power with someone who, you know, is more demanding or has more money, and you can actually be like, nope, and it gets through to them. I hope you know what I mean. Look, I'm tired. I got a headache, but you know what? I liked your story, and other people will also like it. I'm gonna shut up. Story 8. Ah, yes, the Todds of our childhoods. I went to a small town school full of them. I was the new kid, but worst of all, I was the poor kid, and those little bastards messed with me relentlessly. After years of ridicule and their abuse, I too snapped and saw red. It was the best days of my school years. Anyway, I got into a fight with one of the rich brats, beat him badly, and was sent to the office. After waiting for about an hour, I was brought out of the little room they had me in and was sent to the principal's office. There he was with his mommy and daddy, crying crocodile tears, playing the victim. I sat there for a while as they questioned and berated me for defending myself and how I shouldn't resort to violence so easily. I tried to explain what really happened, but neither adult would give me a chance. They pushed me to my limit, and I stood up and yelled at his parents, "If you would have beat his butt, I wouldn't have had to do it for you." They had a look of shock and horror that someone finally stood up to that family, and it was a 5th grader. I had nothing to lose, so I wasn't afraid of them. I'd like to say that day turned everything around for me, but it didn't. I learned about attempted murder and the consequences, though. I almost pushed the mama's boy over a 2nd-story banister in my rage. The school just stopped having the parents come in after fights. Story 9. I've worked at a coffee shop on the main street going through an open campus for 7.5 years. The number of people who pull this crap, 1429, is incredible. I'm finally approaching what may be the end of my time at the store, and, well, I finally lost my cool with it, laughed my butt off. Usually I ask the person their name and find where they are in the line of orders. Then I just tell everyone that there's a long line of drinks and we're making everything as fast as possible. Sometimes I gesture to the drink order stickers lined up on the bar for emphasis, but this day I had just had enough. My coworker told me afterwards that my tone was fine, so I got away with it, but I just said what's always going through my mind. Can you hurry up and make my drink? I have class. Middle of a rush, all clearly also students, always a rush around this time because it's a common time for classes to begin. Me. Yep, most of the people waiting have class right now. We'll get everything out in the order it came in as quickly as possible. Turned back to the bar and kept working on the 5 drinks I was keeping track of in my mind at that particular moment. Shake my damn head. Look, I know that you said that you, kind of lost your cool or whatever here, but honest to God, what you said to this person, I know most people would just normally say this. I feel like even I would just say this without even being frustrated, so you are a person of immense patience if this is you losing your patience. Story 10. My ex-best friend turned out to be a spoiled brat. Never really noticed till I was moving into the apartment. Her mom ran the property and offered to upgrade me to a 2-bedroom and halve the cost if I let her daughter move in with me. My friend was leaving her long-term boyfriend that also lived in the complex, so I said, why not? Because it would turn out cheaper than a 1-bedroom. We didn't last a year. She expected me to literally pay for everything, including her food and her cat's food. She refused to get a job and then turned around and adopted a dog. She again expected me to pay for everything, including the vet bill. When I got so sick, she had to put it down. I put my foot down at that point, changed the doorknob to my room so she couldn't steal my animal's food, and told her she had to figure her own crap out. I wasn't footing her bills. She threw a tantrum, literally attacking her wall with a hunting knife, then told me she was moving in with her new boyfriend. I was out of that apartment before she was. Turns out a lot of shady crap was going on in that complex, and when the complex came after me for damages and a slew of other BS, I made a deal to hand over all information I had, including proof of my friend living in the apartment when she wasn't supposed to, and they would leave me alone. Story 11. And I have a crazy story. This dates back to when I was in camp, so this was the early 2000s. Summer camp kids, being kids, so this camp was for kids with special needs. from people with autism to other mental health needs. So over the years, I had to deal with this one kid who suffered from smoker syndrome. If you don't know, smoker syndrome is a mental disability where the brain stops growing and maturing, and the person's brain stops accepting data input if you know certain things. So we do. So during the summer of 2008, it was the first summer that the Nintendo DS had just come to market. I believe it was the DSi first generation with a camera, so you know everyone had one. So this kid who suffered from that disability stormed into the kids' bunks and harassed everyone, even stormed into my bunk one time and stole my DS when I was in the shower and started trying to play it, so I'm in this bath towel just getting out of the shower. I believe it was around 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. that was freshening up for dinner since it's summer and it's really hot out. So yeah, everyone's going to start smelling, so you know we're all taking our turns taking showers. I was just getting ready to come out and I see this kid rushing towards my bed trying to get my DS. Next thing I know, in a blind rage, I tackle him and said, "Don't you dare touch my machine." So the following hour, I'm getting scolded by my division head, who is a version of a lead counselor. So the division head told me why I did it. I told them I'm trying to defend my property and so forth. I found out later that kid, his mom and dad are close friends with the camp director. Well, let's jump forward to modern day and do some digging. Found out the kid was placed into a special mental hospital. As for the camp director, just say the camp director lost her job. She was possibly almost arrested for money embezzlement, and the best part of the karma, and I can't believe this, the camp had to merge with another one. So, to those days, I believe the world was saying, just wait, karma will catch up, and oh boy, karma did. So it sounds like the spoiled person who got put in their place was the camp director who lost their job for embezzling and stuff, which is awful. The other person who clearly was dealing with, I'm not going to spend the time reading through to find the name of the disability and stuff, but was just struggling with, with that and, trying to have people help direct them better stuff. But I hope they're doing well wherever they are, and I hope maybe the counselor learned a lesson and is doing better. Today I just hope people are doing good, okay? Story 12. I was never spoiled as a kid. I grew up the youngest of 6 with a single mother till I was 8 when my stepdad came into the picture, after I learned how to cook, bake, clean, and do laundry. I always thought I was a pampered kid until I joined the Navy. There were guys who had no idea how to fold their clothes and even asked me to make their beds for them, one even demanding someone to iron his underwear. And one quit saying the food was so bad even the rats wouldn't want it, but I would disagree, but I usually got the taco salad. One quit because he said he was being bullied and forced to work out, despite it being boot camp. And while not entitled, we did have a guy who duped the whole division. He spoke nothing but Spanish throughout, and any time the RDCs tried to do the disciplinary workout, they had to do physically show him what they wanted. And at graduation, when I was talking to my chief, he just walks up with his folks and plain English says, "Chief, I want to thank you for helping me to better myself." Our little area went silent, only to be broken by the chief exclaiming, "You speak English? You effer." To this day, I chuckle. Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. Ah!